Venice was never built to last. Stone by stone, it sinks into silence, taking its secrets with it. But during the year of the plague, when death clung to every breath, something ancient clawed its way back from the dark. Not a monster of fangs and blood, but one of rot and ritual. They buried her in haste, sealed her lips, crossed her name, but she chewed through death itself to be heard again. And tonight, I will tell you her story. In the year 1576, Venice did not breathe. It coughed, it choked, it burned. The Black Death swept in like fog off the sea, thick, cold, impossible to escape. No one saw it coming. No one saw it leave. Gondolas ferried corpses instead of lovers. Streets fell silent, windows stayed shuttered, and day by day, the city grew heavier with the weight of its own dead. Their bodies were taken to San Michele, Venice's island of the dead, stacked in boats like driftwood, burned or buried in haste. But among those nameless graves, there was one that did not stay closed. They never wrote her name, not in church ledgers, not in burial records, as if naming her would make her real. Some called her a plague victim, others a witch, but they were whispers that she was something older than both. She was found standing in a room of corpses, 3 bodies untouched by rot, and her whispering, not to the living, but to whatever lay waiting beneath. Her breath stunk of death. Her lips were chewed raw from the inside out. They buried her fast. No rites, no cross, only a pit and a prayer that she wouldn't rise. But prayers have never held back the old ones. 3 nights passed, and then the ground began to shift. He thought the dead slept still, but the tomb was restless, and the air around it warm. When he pried the lid open, he did not scream. He simply stopped breathing. Her mouth gaping, not in horror, but hunger. Linen crammed between her teeth, ripped, gnawed, swallowed. This was no grave robbery. It was something far older. The Nachtzerer, the Shroud Eater. Not a hunter of blood, but a feeder on silence and decay. Each bite of the burial cloth, a curse released into the air. And she had been chewing for days. They had no answers, only fear. The priests turned to forgotten rituals, rites older than their own faith. A curse needs no belief to work, only repetition. They called it the stone mouth, a brick driven between her teeth, meant to silence the chewing, to trap her hunger behind bone and stone. They whispered prayers not found in any scripture, and sealed the tomb with blood and fire. Then they fled, and for a time the silence held. But silence in Venice never lasts. wasn't priests or legends who uncovered her. It was science. Curious hands in latex gloves, brushing away centuries of fear. In 2006, beneath layers of plague soil, they found her, exactly as the stories warned. A skeleton, jaw torn white, a red brick jammed deep in her mouth, not to silence her, but to contain her. Her eye sockets gaped upward, as if she died looking at something only the dead should see. They called her the Vampire of Venice, but even that name felt too kind. Because what they found in that grave wasn't sleeping. They weren't prepared for what they found. The skeleton's jaw wasn't just open, it was broken, not by time, but by something straining from within. The shroud meant to bind her was missing. The cloth she'd been buried with, devoured. And one investigator, who never returned to the site, saw the inside of the coffin bore deep scratches, like someone had tried to claw their way out. But the reports called it superstition, settling bones, sifting wood, just decay, they said. Just death, being death. But you and I both know, death doesn't chew. They say Saint Michel sleeps quietly at night. But some who walk its graves with a camera never review their footage the same way twice. Blink and you might miss her, a figure in red, passing just behind the lens. The audio, always corrupted, EMF spikes, distortion, but one sound always gets through. Chewing, slow, wet, like fabric being gnawed from the inside. And those who stay too long don't just hear her, they dream. A woman in crimson, speaking a language older than breath, not asking, not screaming, just waiting, because she doesn't feed on blood. She waits for silence and sleep. He said the dream was vivid, a crypt, a sound, something chewing in the dark. He woke, gasping, pillow soaked, nose bleeding, brick dust on his sheets, and something hard, still warm, beneath his head. Another visitor, days earlier, left a red rose on her grave, a harmless tribute, a dare maybe. By morning, the flower was gone. In its place lay a tooth, small, split, freshly broken. No one claimed it, but Venice keeps what it's owed. They say she walks again, but only when the tide pulls back far enough to expose what the city tried to bury. Bones, secrets, hungers that never died. She doesn't haunt, she waits. She is Venice's memory, the one truth its waters cannot drown. And if you see her, you've already been chosen. They say legends are nothing more than echoes, fragments of fear lost to time. But in Venice, the echoes don't fade. They chew their way back into the world. And once you've heard them, you're never alone in the dark again.